What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another Mystro Weekly Industry Roundup. Today is Sunday. This is May 26, 2019. We got a few things to talk about today. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Randy Shear. I used to be known as Uberman on YouTube, and I am here in collaboration with Mystro, the Android app that automates your rideshare experience for Uber, Lyft, and Postmates. So we're going to jump right into this because I've got a few. Let's just jump into this. Number one on my list is from USA Today. And the title of this one says, Uber offers quiet mode. Shh. So you don't have to talk to the driver, but it'll cost you extra. Well, this is fascinating, isn't it? Ever put on your AirPods to keep a chatty Uber driver from annoying you during a trip? You may have the option to put them away. Uber just launched a new preference in the app that allows you to specify what level of conversation you would like to have during an Uber ride. Starting Tuesday in the US, riders can choose between quiet preferred or happy to chat within the app. Now, this is not across the board. This is only available for Uber Black or Uber Black SUV, and it does cost extra. How do you feel about that? Let me tell you personally, I mean, that's fine because I don't always want to talk either. So if I can get a notification within the app saying to me, the driver, hey, your passenger wants you to be quiet. Cool. No problem at all. It beats the awkwardness of trying to chat it up with a passenger and them just being distant. You know what I mean? Because it just makes the whole ride very awkward. So at least this way you know ahead of time. Your passenger wants to talk, your passenger doesn't want to talk. I think they should include this across the board, all platforms on the Uber, and Lyft should include something like this too. I think this is great, but I also think what would make it even better is if the driver had the option to tell the passenger they don't want to talk. There are many times I would be happy to pay an extra few dollars per trip maybe to keep the passenger from talking to me because I really don't want to talk to him. Number two on my list is from Roll Call. The tax man may be coming for Uber and Lyft drivers. Let that soak in for a minute. As if we don't have enough problems already, right? Between the lackluster initial public offerings and the struggles to turn a profit, ride-sharing services such as Uber and Lyft aren't short of problems. Tell me something I don't know. Now Congress is threatening to make it more difficult for them to retain drivers who are already outraged over low wages. The IRS believes that many Uber and Lyft drivers are cheating on their taxes, and Senator John Thune, RSD, is pushing legislation that would dramatically reduce the income threshold above which gig economy companies that rely on contractors must report to the IRS. How about that? As a means of cracking down, the legislation would force Uber and Lyft to report to the IRS any amount driver contractors earn over $1,000 in a year, rather than the current $20,000. So, for those of you that drive part-time, you make less than $20,000 a year, Uber doesn't report that. Neither does Lyft. They're not required to. But if this legislation passes, anything over $1,000, Uber and Lyft will be reporting to the IRS. The IRS will know that you made X amount of dollars over $1,000, and you better pay your taxes. So, for the ones that are cheating the system, that's a bad deal. For the ones of us that actually pay our taxes appropriately, it's not a problem, and I don't make $20,000 a year driving for Uber or Lyft anyway, so right now it's not that big of a concern. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Curious to see what you think about the IRS wanting to crack down on Uber and Lyft drivers. Last but not least, number 3 on my list is from Consumer Reports, and this one actually kind of startled me. 1 in 6 Uber and Lyft cars have open safety recalls, Consumer Reports study suggests. Consumer Reports review of 94,000 vehicle records in New York City and Seattle show companies do little to address open recalls. Okay, let's get something straight here. It's not the companies that are supposed to be making sure these cars don't have recalls on them. It is the drivers. I mean, that's the first part of this that I thought was a little bit misleading. It's not Uber or Lyft's responsibility to verify the recalls have been completed on their drivers' vehicles. That is something the drivers are responsible for as independent contractors. But I do see where it would be helpful if Uber and Lyft did make sure recalls were done on all vehicles. They've got your plate number, they got your VIN number, they know how to contact you. Perhaps a lot of drivers just don't know there's an open recall on their car. Perhaps they could find a way of letting drivers know, hey, you've got a recall and you cannot use the app until this recall has been completed. There are some serious recalls out there, guys. The biggest one that I know of is a Takata. I think it's called the Takata airbags. Those things can rip someone's face off. They are deadly. It's better to have no airbags than have the Takata airbags that are under recall. That's a huge deal. Among tens of thousands of Uber and Lyft drivers registered to operate in New York City, there's a 2011 Hyundai Sonata GLS with 8 unaddressed safety recalls that range from a potential seatbelt detachment to even more alarming examples such as possible engine failures. To me, an engine failure is less significant than a seatbelt detachment. Seatbelt detachment is a pretty big deal. Engine failure, you pull over on the side of the road. Millions of riders rely on ride-hailing services such as Uber and Lyft for daily transportation, but according to Consumer, I'm talking too fast, according to Consumer Reports review of data from New York City and the Seattle area, a notable number of ride-hail vehicles registered for Uber and Lyft, about 1 in 6, carry unaddressed safety defects. Listen, to you drivers out there, maybe a lot of you don't even know what safety recalls are, but I urge you to take a few minutes out of your day. Call your local dealership, your local name brand dealership, not one of those little places that actual Chevy, Ford, Honda, Hyundai, Kia, Lincoln, Mercury, whatever. Well, some of those don't exist anymore, but you know what I mean. Call the parent company to some of these smaller brands. You need to give them your VIN number and ask them if they can run your VIN for a recall. And if you have a recall, I urge you, take your vehicle in immediately. These things can be very serious. They can be deadly to you and your passengers or your children, your family. Get the recall addressed. They will take care of this free of charge on an open safety recall. They're obligated to. And usually, I can't say all the time, but usually they will be courteous enough to give you a rental car. Other times they may charge you for it, but I really do urge you, please get those safety recalls taken care of because this is very dangerous to you, your family, and the general public. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm out of here. Thank you again for joining us. Mystro appreciates you. I appreciate you. Leave your comments down below. Stay safe out there, everybody. We'll catch you next week in the next one.